Hello and welcome to the Skipper's View podcast. My name is Brett,
My name is Sam.
My name is Will.
and today we're on episode 155 of the podcast, and it's Skipper's View history here. We got our first active player with us, Hayden Wynja. How are you doing today, man? How's everything going today for you?
Good, great. Thanks for having me. I'm excited. I'm excited to do this. Doing good. Excited.
So, we were discussing this the last couple of weeks because I know so a little background, Hayden and I, we briefly met at the Indie Card Exchange.
Yeah.
Funny enough, we're both card collectors, and
Mhm.
Sam, Will, and Dean, who's not with us tonight, we're all big card collectors. So it was awesome to see a player being a collector. And, it's hard to miss you at the card store. You're standing at 6'9", 220, and I'm over here like, the owner of the store is like, yeah, he pitches in the league. I was like, well, no kidding. Like, so you're originally from Des Moines, Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start off with card collecting, though. I want to learn that a little bit about you. What do you collect baseball? Do you collect all the sports, or do you collect a specific sport? What do you collect?
Yeah. So, I really grew up in Indiana. I was born in Iowa, and then kind of grew up around Indy. And I think I tell a lot of people, it's a great place to be, especially if you collect cards. Like it's a good spot. And so, kind of growing up when I was young, it started like a lot of people, right? Going grocery shopping with your parents and asking your dad if you can get a pack off the shelves. And that's kind of my intro to it when I was really really young. And it's kind of something that you bring all your cards to school, and then a lot of the kids I was around also collected. So we trade at recess and trade on the bus. And so it was always like a huge part of kind of something I was interested in. And then obviously, like everyone else, I kind of got away from it for a little bit, during, I guess, high school and maybe college a little bit. And then what really got me back into it is one of my roommates at Murray State. His name is Adrian. He was really into like buying, grading, selling, and buying singles and kind of that whole world of it. And I had always been intrigued by it, never really done it, but he kind of helped me out and introduced me to that side of things. And then ever from there, I mean, the last couple of years, and I'd say especially the last, kind of since I got home from this last season, I've been really, really into it. And so it's just something fun, right? To kind of keep you entertained. And I mean, growing up, right? Like you always want, like, I can't wait till I get a card. And like, that's always kind of in the back of your mind. And it's really cool that now I'm in the position where I'm starting, have a couple cards like in the team sets and stuff. And it's a cool situation to be in, collecting these guys. And, and I can still collect a lot of the people that I used to collect, but I can collect my friends now too. And, myself and a lot of those cards, which I think is a cool aspect that, it's not a lot of people, I guess, can do. And I try to do it. So.
That is the coolest thing ever. I wish I could say I could collect myself, but that will never happen.
It's like unimaginable for like the rest of us to even like consider us having like our own baseball cards. Like that is just it's so cool to just think about having your own.
It's like one of those things, right? You're always like, it's one day I hope this will happen, and it's surreal, to be honest. I mean, even like when I'm at games and I'll see people and they have one of my team set cards and they want me to sign it, and they know my name. They even know how to say my name. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never experienced. It's still new to me, I guess, a little bit. I've been playing for that long, and so I'm still, I guess, getting used to it. But I mean, I'm having a lot of fun. It's pretty cool. It's surreal for sure.
Definitely a surreal feeling. So being from the Indy area, first thing, start off Heritage Christian High School, right down the block from where I live. I know it well, right there on Binford. So you were the city tournament runner-up both of your upper junior and senior years, and you helped lead Heritage Christian to 3 straight sectional titles, as well as named honorable mention for the All-American team there. You had a heck of a high school career. So explain to me, obviously you got drafted by the Braves, and then you decided to go to Purdue. Can you give us a little bit background about what's going on there?
Yeah. So it really all starts, I would say, my freshman year, actually, where I didn't go to Heritage. I started at Heritage from kindergarten. I went to Heritage Christian kindergarten through 8th grade. And then, at the time I was a freshman in high school and I thought, I wanted to go somewhere bigger for sports, right? Somewhere good sports. So I went over to Cathedral for a year.
Of course.
Yeah. I got cut from the baseball team. All right. First I got cut from the basketball team, and then I got cut from the baseball team later that year. And it's a true story. I was actually told, high school sports aren't for everybody. And so that was kind of like a big thing that, still sticks with me kind of to this day, as crazy as that sounds like it, but after, I got cut, I've always been pretty stubborn on the fact that I want to play, I want to play as long as I can. And so I think that was a real gut check to me in the moment. And so obviously I went back to Heritage, and I think really that whole experience helped me develop, kind of a work ethic. And then I was 5'10" at the time too. And so, I grew about a foot. And then,
dude, I was gonna ask, standing at 6'9" and cut from a high school basketball team, I was like, dude, how tall must have you been?
Yeah, I was definition of a late bloomer, that's for sure. So shot up late. And I got cut, just kind of straight up how it is. And and then I went back over to Heritage, and I always tell people frankly, I sucked in high school. I didn't know much about baseball. I didn't know about the game. I learned a lot when I got to college, and I learned fast. I kind of got my butt kicked in, my freshman year of college, hence why, I didn't stay at Purdue the whole time. But, kind of going throughout Heritage. Heritage has had a good baseball team, pretty good baseball team, win some games. And so, I was kind of lucky there to win, 3 sectionals. We got bounced in the regionals every year, which, sucks. But, and then, runner up in city. So I always say, it's kind of fortunate I was with, how I was fortunate to be on a winning team with a lot of other, college baseball players and a lot of other guys who wanted to win. But yeah, Frank, I mean, I would never say, I really did much of it. And I didn't really even pitch in high school. It was more of it wasn't my timeline really, in high school. So
it's kind of crazy how that works out, where it's like most people's peaks are high school, and you're saying that you just stunk in high school. But who I had the question, who is your toughest at bat? But if you're saying if you didn't pitch as much, who would you say is the best player you versed while in Indiana high school ranks? Because obviously, the state's got talent year over year, and I saw guys like Drew Jameson was around when you were pitching, and you had Max Clark, who was a top 5 pick a couple of years ago, and Scott Rowlands from the state of Indiana. Jasper.
Yeah. So I'd say in high school, like actively when I was on Heritage, Nick Schnell. He was a first rounder at Ron Colley. I faced him a couple times, and I didn't have success a lot in high school, especially on the mound. I had some success against him, which was kind of interesting, kind of funny. But I had. I would say he was kind of the biggest one. Probably a lot of guys in travel ball I probably faced, and they're probably still playing. I just I didn't realize it at the time. I'd say from the Indy area, it'd probably definitely be Nick. And then, obviously once I get into college and when gotten into pro ball, I've gotten to see and face a lot more guys from the area. So I'd say Indiana baseball, especially once you're in pro ball, like it's a fairly tight knit community almost. Like I know a lot of the guys and they know me, and, I talk to a lot of these guys from this area, in different organizations and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. Like it really is a small world kind of once you start these guys. So
dating back, obviously high school basketball and baseball player, who got you into baseball? Because I went to your freshman year at Purdue, right? And your bio page, it said your favorite baseball player at the time, and I don't know if this is going to stand true, was Andrew Miller. And it made all the sense in the world, big lefty. And so I wanted to, is it lefties like Andrew Miller, or was it like a, family member who got you into the game? How did you get involved in baseball?
Yeah, I think just growing up in a family that, loves sports in general. I mean, you see behind me, we got cool stuff. And and yeah, just loving sports. I mean, my mom ran track in college. My dad played basketball and ran track in college. A lot of my cousins played college basketball. A lot of my family's actually in the basketball world. A lot of us are around my height, believe it or not. So, a lot of basketball players. I'm really the first one to play college baseball, and for me, it's one of those. I just kind of started when I was young, right? Like I started playing, football, basketball, baseball, and then I think when I was super young, maybe some soccer and some other stuff. But it's kind of one of those things I stuck with and I loved. Like I love competition, and for a long time, like if you would ask me in middle school or high school, I'd been like, yeah, I'll be a basketball player, and kind of how things worked out. I'm able to realize my ceiling's probably in baseball. And for me, it's if I'm playing a sport, I'm happy. Like that's what I want to do. And yeah, just kind of with how things have worked in baseball, it made so much sense for me to pursue this like I'm pursuing it, if that makes sense. And obviously I love the sport, and I love everything that comes with it. So I mean, I'm having a great time. So
It's funny that like when you were younger and shorter that you focused on basketball, and as you get older and taller, you focused on baseball.
yeah,
Funny way the
yeah,
world works, but
no, exactly. And I was 5'10" my freshman year of high school, and my mom had always told me growing up, "You're going to be 6'8". And you tell like when you're in first grade, you tell your teacher, I'm gonna be 6'8". Like, yeah, you are. Of course. And I remember when I went to the doctor when I had first hit 6 foot. I think it was later on in my freshman year. I hit 6 foot for the first time, and the doctor told me I was done growing. He's like, "You probably maybe got another inch in you." And I look at my mom like, "Come on," like I thought I was just starting. And then, I kept going back, and I kept growing, and yeah, just it happened quick. I blinked my eye, and I was 6'8", and then I grew an extra inch in college, so it just kind of really shot up.
Was there ever a time where you thought you were going to be a college basketball player, not a college baseball player, or was it sort of all baseball from the start of high school?
I'd say definitely early on, as I didn't even play varsity baseball until my junior year. I was varsity basketball my sophomore year, and and from the basketball side of things, like I can jump pretty well. I can dunk and do some tricks and do some cool stuff, and I could shoot pretty well. So I was like, I'm pretty good. I would consider myself a much better basketball player in high school than I was baseball. And so I think, yeah, for early on in high school, I kind of realized, I was like, yeah, maybe basketball is the way I want to pursue things. And then playing travel baseball in the summer, learning about it and falling in love with baseball. I mean, as you guys know, baseball is an amazing sport. And, then you start to get calls from some, big schools, and you're like, oh, it kind of opened your eyes, and, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can take this route. And, that's something I did, and I'm really, really happy I did make that decision. I mean, it's kind of turned into, baseball is awesome. I mean, it's obviously my favorite sport. I mean, that goes without saying, and yeah, I love playing it.
Sam, Will, to give you a little context, the high school that Hayden went to, they're the starting small forward for Purdue right now went to the same high school, so it's a pretty talented high school when it comes to basketball. We'll just say that.
Yeah, I know him very well. Yeah.
So we'll drop off the high school segment. I want to get a little bit into the college career and let you take us through. Obviously went through a few schools, through a few different years, and I'll let Sam and Will, who are the more experienced college guys here, kind of they've been on that route. They've played college ball. I want them to get involved. So take us at freshman year Purdue. You redshirt, I believe, in 2018. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then 2019, you get your first action. Didn't pitch a whole lot of innings, but you decided to leave after 2019, correct?
Yeah. Decided, got cut, same thing. But yeah,
same thing. Okay. Yeah. So what? Take us what goes on from there, and then I'll let Sam and Will ask their questions.
Yeah. So committed to Purdue out of high school. In high school, I think a lot of it, I wasn't. I'll say this: I wasn't ready for the Big Ten out of high school, and I don't know if this is going to sound controversial. I don't think a lot of people are. Not necessarily for the Big Ten, but for Big big time baseball for Division One. I mean, Division One baseball is good, and a lot of kids aren't ready for it. I mean, for me, it wasn't. It was a skill thing. It was also a mindset thing, and I just didn't know the game. I didn't know the game very well, and you guys probably feel have had similar experiences getting in your first college practice, and coach saying this is the way things are supposed to be, and you're like, I never did this in high school. And it's a little bit of it's eye-opening, right? And it's humbling realizing you don't know nearly as much as you think you know. And I mean, you can either do one of two things with that, right? Learn how to navigate it, or just fold, I guess, right? And so that was something for me. I definitely had to go through it, and it took me maybe longer than it should have to figure it all out. But it's all a process. Everyone's got their own timeline. So
Yeah, no. So I mean, this is kind of the biggest thing I was wondering, and why I'm really excited that we were able to have you on. You have such a unique kind of path to the major leagues and into professional baseball. Kind of just take us through the path after Purdue, playing, for some other schools, for Lincoln Trail Community College, some JUCO ball obviously there. South Florida looks like you had a couple of innings in 2021, but then really Murray State is where things took off from there in 2022. You were a monster for
yeah.
them. 86 strikeouts in 73 and 2/3 innings. Just so kind of just take us through that whole journey. Obviously with the transfer portal these days, switching schools is kind of the new norm.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you were sort of doing it in this pre-transfer portal world. So yeah, I would love to hear all about it.
Yeah, no, I definitely. I mean, right in high school, I never wanted to be a bounce around guy. I never wanted to bounce around. I wanted to, because I felt like I did that in high school. I went to two high schools, and I always liked the idea of going back to what and going having that level of comfort. But yeah, I never really had that. I never really had that opportunity. I went to Purdue for 2 years, and that was the longest I was at any college. And yeah, I mean, I get cut from Purdue, just pretty much straight up. Just said, hey, you can stay here at Purdue and be a student, or but your baseball money's gone, and it's not gonna happen here. And that was, at the time, it felt like it felt like a lot like it did in high school, right? Getting cut is never fun. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter where you are. It's doesn't matter what you do. No one wants to be cut in anything, and that was a big thing. But for me, it was one of the non-negotiables was I want to figure this out. I knew I have the God-given ability of being left-handed, 6'9", and I'm going to do everything in my power not to let that go to waste. And that's how I try to look at it. And so, everyone's path is different. Something I did once I got cut from Purdue, one of the first things I did was I got up on Google and I looked up the MLB All Stars, and I looked up every single All Star, and I read about their journey. And what really shocked me is that most of these All Stars, at the time, they weren't number one recruits out of high school. They weren't supposed to be there by anyone's measure. And so, learning a lot from that, and just like a lot of these guys were managers on the college teams, and then they just said, "Hey, coach, you're gonna have to play me," and they do, and then they play. So it's learning what you can from guys like that, and then embracing your own journey. And so that's what I tried to do. I ended up going to Lincoln Trail after Purdue, and it wasn't my best JUCO. It wasn't the best JUCO I had an offer from or anything like that. I was always fortunate enough to have maybe a lot more offers than some of the other guys around me, or maybe than I deserved. And so I could choose a little bit. And I ended up going to Lincoln Trail because I had a close friend say, basically, you need to find the grittiest, dirtiest, spot that you can go to. And for me, that was trail. Like it's sink or swim, especially, I don't know. You guys might play with JUCO guys. I mean, they're wired a little different. They're a little crazy. And
dude, I mean, I play a little D3 ball in upstate New York on the Canadian border. So we have snow on our field until mid-April. So
oh, yeah.
I can definitely attest to. I'm sure Will can too. To the grit that you need. Honestly, I think the grit. I'm sure you can talk about how it helped you become a better player. Honestly.
Yeah, I think it's a huge part. It teaches you how to show up, right? It teaches you that you don't have to. A lot of guys play like a lot of guys play for, to be recognized, and they play for, so Twitter talks good about them, and all these things that I think are kind of funny, right? Because when you go JUCO route, you learn that, that's not why the great players play the game. They play because they love the game, and they really care, they care about improving, and they care about getting better. And so it's that was kind of the big thing that, getting cut kind of taught me, right? And as you can see, I went to a couple more schools, so I didn't learn it right away. I left. I went to Lincoln Trail, and then Lincoln Trail, our season actually got banged because of COVID. So that whole thing happened, and then I was committed, and then I was committed to University of South Florida. Um, Kind of the same thing. Fell in love with the bells and whistles. They flew me out there on an official visit, took me to a nice seafood restaurant, and I was like, "This is the spot." Right? I was like going into my fourth year, my redshirt junior year. I was like, you always have these ideas on paper of how you want your career to look, and at the time I'm thinking I'm at USF. I'm like, you know, this is the year. This is when I'm going to break out. And, I had all these articles written about me, like, oh, Hayden Wynja, unicorn, and all these crazy things. And, I putting all this outside pressure on myself, and it didn't work. I threw 2 innings, I walked 5, and I got cut. So, that's the reality, and that's what happened. And then after there, Murray State, and Murray State's the school that I claim. I can't speak highly enough about Murray State. Going to Murray State was the best decision I could have made in my entire college career. But what happened between Murray State and South Florida, the reason I went from 2 innings to 80 or however many it was I found a place in Florida called the Florida Baseball Armory, and ran by Randy Sullivan. And I trained there for 12 weeks, probably the hardest 12 weeks of my life, and that it completely changed my life. Just, I mean, to put it frank, like, I mean, it taught me everything that I know now. I mean, I tell people, like, the only way I can explain it is 2 innings, 5 walks at USF, and then 80 innings, like 14 walks at Murray State. And so I was a completely different person, completely different pitcher, and you learn how to get people out, and then kind of having, like I said, learning how to show up I mean, the reality is I was showing up every day and putting in the work, and I didn't see anything pay off until my 5th year in college. Like, that's the reality. Like I said, I wasn't good in high school. I wasn't good in college until Murray State. And so I like to tell people that, because it's the ability to show up that I think a lot of people don't talk about. It's not sexy to talk about that stuff, right? And so,
No,
but it
100%. I mean, it's undoubtedly helped you, and I think a big testament right now, and I think you would probably agree with me, is that this journey that you've had through college has probably helped you adjust to the pro ball life too.
Mhm.
And sort of getting into my last question for you here before I kick it over to Will. What do you find the biggest adjustment is between college ball and kind of getting your feet wet at the pro level?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think one of the biggest things is that you have to know who you are in pro ball. You have to know what kind of player you are. You have to know what you need, and you have to know how to get better. And it sounds like such an easy thing, right? But a lot of people don't know how to get better. They know how to work hard, but they don't know how to get better. And so I think that's a huge thing, at least for me. And you see that in pro ball. It's a lot less like hand holding in pro ball. It's hey, get your business done. It's a job, and get your stuff done, and then go play. And I think that's a big difference in pro ball. Is you see, it's a lot more individual, like, and it's a lot more, you see different things. In college, it's a system, it's a program. And a lot of college coaches, you lift as a team, you do this as a team, you go fundraise as a team, you do all these things as a team. And in pro ball, you still do have that team aspect, and you see that a lot and you can tell the difference between a guy who gets drafted out of college and a guy who gets drafted out of high school. You can tell that guys have been through college, and because they a lot of times they have some a basis of that structure, if that makes sense. And so I think that's a huge thing. It's just um, you're on your own more in pro ball, but and that could be a benefit to some people, and it could really hurt a lot of guys. I've seen guys in pro ball who've been at the same school for 5 years, and they only know their coach, and when things go bad, first person they call is their college coach, right? And so I think, like, it's it can kind of take away at times, right? If you don't know yourself as a player. And I like you said, I got drafted out of high school, but I didn't go, and I didn't go because I knew I wasn't ready. If I went to Atlanta, out of high school, I'd probably not be in baseball anymore. I wasn't ready. I've been run out of it, and so that was a big thing for me. Knowing I wanted to eventually get into pro ball is when I get there, I want to make sure I'm ready or as ready as I can be. So yeah.
Fascinating. That's awesome. Well, I'll kick it over to Will because I know he's got some more college questions and some summer ball questions as well. But that's very, very interesting to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked a bunch about your transitions through schools, and obviously you've played at a couple of different levels professionally at this point. So when you're changing schools, and obviously this is pre-transfer portal times, is that transition different, like really difficult? You mentioned that you wanted to be a one school guy, like you didn't want to be this bounce around guy, but that just wasn't the reality of what happened. So was that a really difficult thing for you to adjust to with different coaches, different program styles? Every coach has different philosophies, or did it kind of prep you for that professional baseball realm where you're switching level to level, coach to coach, fairly consistently, maybe every single year?
Yeah, I think honestly, a little bit of both. I think like the transfer portal is something like going to a different bunch of different schools. You meet a bunch of different coaches. I was actually just having this conversation with my dad a little bit at dinner, and I said, you realize like when you're a freshman and you go into college, you think this is the college. This is the college I committed to. Um, this coach knows, right? This guy's a genius. Like this is the coach. This is how it's done. This is how it's supposed to be done. And then you leave schools, and then you're with a coach who does it completely different. And then you leave schools again, and then they do it completely different. And so it kind of realizes like not all these college coaches know what they're doing, and like it's kind of just the reality. Like and a lot of them. I mean, I've even met different college coaches. I mean, who will strictly only recruit out of the portal. That's a whole nother conversation. Yeah, I have my own opinions on that, but I think it's definitely. I mean, the portal it's really stressful, and I would say that like every time when I did find out I had to go back in the portal, I never. It was never an exciting thing. It was always a scary thing because it's the unknown. And I remember, I mean, some of the hardest phone calls I had to make were, to my parents and be like, hey, like, and I'm so lucky to have parents that believe in my career as much as I do. And see, but those are hard conversations. You have to call your dad and be like, hey, I can't, like, I don't have any more money at USF. Like, I'm gonna have to, I want to leave and I want to keep playing. And you're just like, okay, like go make it happen. And so I think, and a lot of that, and just bouncing around schools, like the go make it happen thing, and playing with a bunch of different college coaches, I think you realize like you're able to take good from them and take bad from them. Like I'd be lying if I said like I didn't still have bad habits from some college coaches, but I also have some. I learned really invaluable things at probably every single college. I'll talk the highest about Murray State, but um, Coach Skirka and everything he does there. I mean, I think that's the closest to a complete college coach that I've ever experienced, and I was lucky enough to actually have him as my coach. And but yeah, I mean, you see the good, the bad, and you see it all in college. And then I think once you get to pro ball and you can kind of talk to some of these other guys about some of these other big schools that they were at, and hearing about their coaches and their experience, and it's all completely different. And it's yeah, it's definitely unique. And I think baseball honestly is unique in that aspect where you do see a lot of guys bounce around, and you see a lot of different personalities, especially in the sport. So
Yeah, that's awesome. You definitely have a super unique experience through college and even translating into pro ball. It's just a very different point of view that we don't see a ton. You see these guys that either come straight out of high school or they're, a power five guy for 4 years and they bounce out. So it's really cool to hear about that. And you talked a lot about how you found your success at Murray State. You credit that place a lot for what you accomplished so far. What was the biggest difference from some of the other schools you were at? Was it a maturity thing for you, or was it a lot of coaching philosophy and the ability to allow you to find that success?
yeah, I think for me it starts. for me, it started at the Armory, actually. So at the Armory, I kind of said training that summer, I think really developed me into a more complete pitcher, a more, gave me an idea of the kind of player I could become someday. And so I think, yeah, training at the Army gave me an idea, taught me how to train, and taught me what I was looking for, what I wanted to feel, and it also taught me not to be obsessed with results and not to attach emotion with results. And there's a bunch of good things I took from the Armory. But when I was at the Armory that summer, I was also in the portal, so I'd be work out for an hour, and then I'd take a phone call and do that every day. And Murray State was one of the schools that I almost committed to before South Florida. They recruited me, and then they were the first people to call me when I got back in the portal. And so right away, I knew they believed in me, and that's something that is really hard to find in college. A lot of college coaches recruit kids based on the recruit a guy like me who's really tall and really athletic and who could become really good for the program, but they don't know how to get it out of you. A lot of college coaches don't. And so they recruit this big lefty like me, and they say, I'm like, I'm going to recruit him. I'm going to offer him. He's going to come here, and I hope that he figures it out, right? But they don't actually make you figure it out. You have to figure it out on your own. And I think that's, for me, the Armory is what helped me figure it out. So when I got to Murray, before I committed, I called the coach, and I said, hey, I said, here's the deal. I said, I'm training at the Armory now, and I feel better than I felt in my whole life. And I said, one of two things is going to happen. I said, I'm going to come to Murray State. You're going to let me keep doing my Armory stuff. You're going to let me have my workouts. You're going to let me, all I need from you guys as a coaching staff is I need you guys to hold me accountable. I need you guys to make sure I'm doing what I say I want to do, because I know how to get there. And I was very adamant on, I know how to get where I want to go. And that was the first time in my career I felt like that too. And I said, if you're promising me all these things and I end up showing up to Murray State, and then, you throw me into the system, and, I'm lifting, doing all these things, exactly like everyone else. I said, frankly, you're wasting your scholarship with me. I said, I'll come, but you're going to waste it. I'm not going to get anything out of it. I said, you hold me accountable and we do the things I need to do. I go, I'll make a run at pitcher of the year. And so, I mean, right away, and this is how I knew right away, they both looked at me and they said, I wish more people would say things like that. So from right there, I knew that was my spot, right? And so I get to Murray, and that's exactly what they did. They were, it was everything I could have asked for. They held me accountable, and they made sure I hit everything, and they didn't let me slack, but they let me figure it out on my own. They really kind of gave me the keys to my own career, which I don't think happens a lot in college ball, just in general. And so having that for me, and then letting myself, figure it out and pitch throughout the year. My first half of Murray State wasn't great, but my second half, it was excellent. Like I think I finished with almost 30 scoreless innings at Murray State. So I really kind of caught a groove towards the end. I think if you cut the season in half, I had like almost a 7 ERA my first half at Murray State. And then kind of once we got in conference play, I really kind of caught that groove. But I attribute that groove to just, having good coaches and having coaches who understand the development process, because there's not a lot of them out there.
That is such a unique and cool wrinkle into that whole story. You never hear any coaches in the college run that allow kids to do stuff like that. I've heard war stories coming out of players that have tried to have those conversations with coaches and have it go horribly wrong. Like too many stories for that. And it's bizarre because baseball is such a unique sport and how people perform well. Like, obviously, as a pitcher, you have mechanical positions you need to get to, but everyone gets in them in different ways. So to try and make everything cookie cutter is never a solution in the sport, but it seems like so many college coaches run through that way. So it's so cool that like right away you say that and he's okay, cool, do it.
Yeah. And that was, and that's what told me right away when they said that, and they believed in the things that I believed in, even though they didn't teach them, if that makes sense. Like the Armory, we do a lot of water training. Nobody at Murray had ever done anything water related, right? And so first day before we started team practices, I sat down with our pitching coach, I sat down with our strength coach, and I gave him my plans, and I said, this is what I had been doing, and I have been success with this, and I want to keep continuing this because this will be good for me, right? And then right away they're like, yeah, like let's do it. You believe in it, I believe in it, and that was, I mean, that's huge to have. I mean, you can't do it on your own, you know, and so you need that kind of, you know, support system. You need people to believe and, you know, share the same vision that you share. And so I definitely found that at Murray State, and that's something, you know, like I said, I mean, Murray is, you know, if I could rewrite it, I wish I was there my whole time, right? But you know, that's not part of it. So
That is really cool, and me and Will, especially, you know, being big college baseball watchers, I think we're gonna tune into some more Murray State baseball this coming
oh,
spring.
they were disgusting
Just to
last.
this, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Love the OVC.
That's awesome.
Love some
We're gonna
OVC
find some-
baseball.
They just switched. Last year was the first year they got moved to the Valley. So I was actually
Oh
the
yeah,
last
that's right. Yeah.
hmm Yeah. So I was the last year of OBC and at Murray. But
Quick question for you. I saw on your baseball reference page you played in the Cal Ripken Summer League. I know Baseball Reference doesn't list every summer league, and obviously you have the Armory summer and you have a COVID summer in there, so a couple of summers where you may or may not have been playing. But what was your favorite summer league to play in, and what's your favorite college summer ball memory? Because those summers are unbelievably fun. So I'm sure you've got some good stories from there,
Yeah.
if any.
Yeah, no, yeah. Thanks for asking about the summer ball. I think you brought it up. The Cal Ripken League was without a doubt, without question, the most fun I had ever playing summer ball. I played for the DC Grays, and that's in Washington, and in DC, and being in the capital every day. I mean, it was super cool. I mean, that's not being from Indiana. You know, I don't spend a lot of time up in the Northeast, and so being able to live in DC for a summer was super cool. It was I drove by Air Force One every single day on the way to the field. Like it was just stuff like that I think super cool. And, you know, walking, you know, checking out the monuments on an off day with your teammates, and, you know, the president came to speak on the 4th of July. So we gotta go listen to that too. And just a bunch of unique experiences that are really only unique to Washington, DC. And, you know, having like host families, and a lot of them, you know, were pretty involved, and like my host mom was a lawyer for the Justice Department. Like it was like you see that a lot in DC, and it was cool because the summer before I was in Owensboro, Kentucky, which is really small town Kentucky, which was fun. You know, made some good friends there. But I'd say DC was just it was super cool because that was the first summer ball too where we had kids from what felt like all over the country and from all these different schools, and so I got to meet people from who played at University of Maine, and then I had kids also on my team from schools in Southern California. So it was really like and then also kids from Florida. So we had like every corner of the country, and that's why I think baseball is so awesome, is because it provides you opportunities like that. Like I know people from, you know, all four corners of the country, and Canada, and, you know, now Mexico, Puerto Rico, the Dominican. I mean, you name it, I probably know somebody from there, and it's really only because of kind of my journey and how I played baseball. Yeah, DC was awesome. DC was super super cool. I had a lot of fun.
That
I had to
sounds,
ask about summer ball. Those are my
Mm-hmm.
also favorite baseball memories ever. Those college summers in some
They're the
random
best.
town. It's so much fun. There's nothing else like it. It's such a different vibe from school ball too, because everybody's away from school. It's
Yeah.
my favorite thing ever. I had to know which one was your favorite.
Yeah, no, it was. I never played in the Cape. I never did any of that. And then, like I said, I was at the Armory one summer, so I played summer ball in Kentucky my freshman year, and then the Cal Ripken League in DC my sophomore year, and then the year after that was the COVID summer, I believe, and so I was actually played in Grand Park. Grand Park had like a league running for a couple years, and I was in that. So got a decent amount of summer ball experience, and it's definitely something. Yeah, like I mean, even now, all my teammates, like we talk about summer ball, like it's something that everybody loves. Everybody loves summer ball. Everyone, you know, loves playing, and it's no stress baseball, right? And it's awesome. You can't beat it. You're just you're around a bunch of guys that, you know, you just met, and they become your best friends week one, and then it's all you hang out with all summer. So it's summer ball is definitely a unique experience, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I need to get to a couple summer games. Sam covered a team this summer at the Cape. Correct me if I'm wrong, right, Sam? All summer?
I'm from Boston. I got family down on Cape Cod, so I've been a team writer for the Hyannis Harbor Hawks for 2 years now.
Okay.
So yeah, no, I mean Cape League is awesome, but again, like with what Wilson, what you were saying, I mean, really wherever you go in the country, man, like meeting people from across the globe, even like you
Mhm.
mentioned, not even in the United States, it's an unbelievable experience. You can't really replicate it anywhere else. And again, there's nothing better than some low stress baseball where
Yeah, right.
you kind of have a bad outing and you're like, yeah, it's summer ball, right?
Yeah, no,
That's how it
literally. Yeah,
goes. So
when you're
I gotta
supposed to
get
have them.
I gotta get out to see a couple of these games. But Hayden, last question for you, and then we're gonna let you run. Is there anything in particular that you're working on this offseason? Obviously, you're playing high A ball now for the Eugene Emeralds in the Giant system. Doesn't even need to be baseball related. It could be something, on your off time, some outside of baseball. But anything you're doing this offseason as the winter approaches us?
Yeah, I think right now my biggest focus baseball wise is getting stronger, putting on weight, getting stronger, and as I continue into next year, kind of just fine tuning. This last past year was really the first time I've thrown a changeup in my whole life, so kind of brought that out a lot towards the end of the season, and so found a lot more success with that than I thought I was going to. So it was pretty exciting, and you know, fastball, slider, changeup. You need three if you're going to start. So kind of just moving into next year, just kind of develop a little bit physically and do what I can there and get as strong as I possibly can, and then yeah, just let the stuff play. That's my big thing. I want to get out there and just let it play and see what happens with this stuff. I think it's going to play really well, and I'm excited to be able to attack some hitters with a solid 3 pitch mix, and I want to see where that can take me, and then you know reevaluate after. So that's kind of what my focus is now. And then outside of baseball, kind of you saw me at the card exchange. I've been doing a lot of card stuff, so staying in sports, pretty much all sports, all day, every day for me. But that's how I like it. So
There you go. My Skeens card came in, by the way, the card I was looking for that day when you guys
oh
were there.
really?
Yeah, I got it right here. I was like, I need to show them the indie sports cards guys. They do it right. They got me
When you were
back.
there, you were with I was with my one of my best friends, Hayden Birdsong. He was there, and another one of my best. He's actually from Boston. He's he's in Boston right now. He's from went to Assumption. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but
okay, yeah. I mean, small world. One of my best friends. He didn't play baseball at Assumption, but he went to Assumption. I'm from Natick, which is probably 40 minutes away from Assumption.
yeah,
I'm
that's
closer
crazy.
to Boston than Worcester, but
Yeah,
what's his name?
Jack Choate. Six,
Okay,
6'8" lefty. He was my roommate this year. He was also my roommate in the Arizona Fall League. So he's
100% heard the name. I honestly might have played him like sometime across the line, which is
he's
pretty funny.
one of my really close friends. He's a dog.
That's
so.
cool. That's cool. And we know Birdsong for sure. I mean, he was a star at the end of the year this year for the Giants. So I'm very excited to
He's
watch.
good.
You and him
Gotta
develop
get
over these
both the
next 2
Haydens
years.
up there. I'm coming up. So
100%.
Absolutely. And that being said, obviously, huge thank you for hopping on the show tonight. Can't wait to release this. Very excited to watch you pitch 2025 and beyond. And
yeah,
I will anxiously await the day you get the call. And I will be tuning in the day that you get the call for being the first player guest on our show that we've been working on now.
awesome. Maybe you can collect some of my stuff too.
Absolutely. I'm going to be looking for it. Are you kidding? If I get any good stuff, I'll give you first notice too. Before I put it on the open market.
I'm interested. That's 100%.
All right. Well, thank you all again. I'm going to stop.